Hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Plotter 101. Hey, guys, let me know where you are from because I'd love to see where people are from. I'm talking to you from, well, it's a little bit rainy. I was going to say sunny Barcelona, Spain, but we're actually getting rain. So I'm talking to you from Barcelona, and we are going to be diving right into Plotter 101. I'm LB Schulman, and I will be the lead educator to help you through this. It's going to be a lot of information, just warning you, but don't take notes. Yeah, that's right. Don't take notes. I want you to sit back because I think you're going to figure out pretty quickly how intuitive Plotter is, and it will start to make more sense if you just kind of take it all in. At the end of this session, you're going to get a link, and that link is going to help you can pause it, you can take notes, and go on over to plottr.com. And while you're there, download one of their demos to your plotter. They're already fully formed, in some cases, stories that you're familiar with all the scene cards and everything. And then you can take the things that I'm going to teach you here today and you can play around with the demo instead of your own project, because I don't want you messing up your own project in any way. So that'll make it a lot easier for you. So that's my advice for you. Okay. You all can hear me, right? I just want to make sure everybody can hear me because I haven't heard anything from anybody yet. And then we'll begin. Give me 1 second here. I'm just pulling something up for you. Oh, good. Thanks, Elaine. All right. Here we go. My share screen is doing something kind of funny. Give me 1 second here. All right, here we go. So what you're going to see in front of you is the dashboard. Some of you are familiar with that already, but when you open up Plottr, this is what pops up, right? And what this is it basically houses all the projects you've ever worked on in one place. And you can go into any project you want from the dashboard. There's another place that you can go that I'll show you a little bit later on that you can enter into your current project. But right here is where these things exist. Now, if you were going to start a brand new project, well, I bet you know what you have to do. You just simply click on Create Blank Project and name it. And then it will appear like magic in this list. Create from template, I'll show you that a little bit later. Open existing file and import file. Well, what those things are is, let's say that you collaborated with a friend and that friend sends you over the document and you want to put it on your plotter. Well, then you can import the file in that way. Or maybe you worked on a Plottr file ages ago, left Plottr, decided you were going to become a professional trash man, and then decided writing was a better gig. And you came back and you said, I want to work on that old book I was working on 10 years before. It's on my desk drive, so hard drive somewhere. And you can just literally open existing file and boom, it will go on your new Plottr. Now, speaking of collaboration, the difference between Plottr and Plottr Pro, a lot of people want to know that. So Plottr and Plottr Pro are fairly similar. The main difference, and it's a big one, is that Plottr will back up to your hard drive on your personal computer, and you cannot work with someone else on a document together. Whereas Plottr Pro, you can also set it up to back up to your hard drive if you prefer, but it is backing up to Plottr's cloud storage. So it doesn't impact your storage. It's there if you need it to bring your backups back because you make a mistake or something. It's there, and also it allows you to collaborate with another person. So maybe you're working on something together, like we're going to do right now. Okay. All right, that's the difference. I like to be clear about that up front. So here we have the dashboard, and we're going to work on a project today. We're going to call it the Wicked Wicked West, and I've already created it for you. You see it's the first one down. It's right here. You with me? Okay, now I'm going to pull it up. Just 1 second. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. So it doesn't really look like much, you guys. And the reason it doesn't look like much is because we haven't done anything to it. So this is what we call the default setup. This is the timeline. You see how it's grayed out up here a little bit to show you you're in the timeline? And this is where all the magic happens. So this is where you're going to put in all your scene cards and do all your cool stuff, or a lot of it. So let's take a look at the default. You see above chapter 1 it says default? That's just letting you know. A default is the structure is simply chapters. So if I were to click on this plus next to chapter 1, it would give me additional chapters. And Plottr often has more than one way to do things just to make it easy for you, which I really appreciate because I'm not very good at memorizing icons and things like that. So if you hover over chapter 3, you see this little black plus that comes up, does the same exact thing. Doesn't make a difference which one you use. So if you want to just use this main plot line for your scene cards, because that's where your scene cards go, if you want to simply put your scene cards, all your scenes, you can do more than one, I'll show you that in a second, under chapter 1 and whatever scene cards you have under chapter 2 and so on, you can do that and call it a day. There is nothing wrong with that. That is acceptable. But you guys, we're here to learn, right? We want to learn some cool new tricks. So we might as well learn some cool new tricks. So let's go to this structure button above chapter 5. You see it there? Okay, let's go to the structure. What I'm going to teach you is what's called a 3-act structure, and it's going to be in place of these chapters up here. Now, this is something you only want to do at the beginning of your project. Don't go back to your project later on and try to add it in, because it does funky things when you already have scene cards and everything below it. So do it only at the beginning. So we're going to go into structure here. Here we are. It's telling us we're in default mode, which we already know. It's telling us we have one level, and that level is called chapters. Here's where we can change it and make it look however we want our timeline. So that's kind of fun, and you should play around with that. We're going to add some additional levels. 3-act structure means 3 levels. Turns out you can only go up to 3 levels, so let's look at them. We're going to go next to 1. We're going to click on that black plus, and now we have 2 levels, chapters and scenes. We're going to click one more time. Now we have acts, chapters, and scenes. If we decide that for whatever reason we don't want one of these lines and we want to get rid of them in our 3-act structure, we only want 2 acts, we have to go back to this structure button and hit the minus sign. If I hit it, see, it goes back down to 2. You want to do it in the timeline structure command because you can think of that as the brains of the project. You're telling the brains to impact the whole project because the brains are in charge of your arms and your torso and your legs, right? Just the same way, because I love metaphors. Okay, so it's the same exact thing. This timeline structure controls your whole timeline. So we want to do it from here. So let's close this down and look at this. Okay, this is what we have now. So what this is showing me is we've got Act 1, and let's add 3 acts. We're going to click on the plus here. Plus, plus. Okay, now if I were to scroll over, you would see 3 acts. Chapters, I want to add a few chapters just to show you. So I hit it a few times, and there's already scenes here. Here's the thing. You see how above Act 1 it still says default? Well, that's because it's still in a horizontal lineup. There's nothing wrong with a horizontal lineup technically, because this is how it would work. You would put your first scene card under scene 1. Makes sense, right? And that would tell me that Act 1, we're in Act 1. It would tell me that we're in Chapter 1. And then here's our first scene card. Here's our second scene card. And when I want to go to Chapter 2, I could go to Chapter 2 and do the same thing, okay? All right. The only issue that I have with this is that by the time you have 40 chapters and all those scene cards, this thing is going to be so long. You're going to be scrolling for days to look at your scene cards. So I like to do it a little bit differently. But before I show you how I like to do it, I'm going to show you the next one, which I don't like so much, to be honest, just because I'm not in this position where people would use it. And that's called tabbed. And tabbed would be if you already have a very long and complete plotter all done, 80 scene cards, blah, 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 and you're in revision mode and you're cleaning up your plotter and your cards and you're getting rid of ones and you're adding ones, well, then you might want to do tabbed. Let me show you what it looks like. So here it looks exactly the same, chapters and scenes. The only difference is that Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3 are up here. And if you select any of them, it will move you over there. So remember I said how long this is going to be by the time you get to chapter 40. So maybe you want to click Act 3. It'll take you right there. You don't have to go scrolling all the way across. Okay, that's a very specific kind of situation. Stacked is the one that I prefer. And what that does is it tells me, see, now it's vertical. So it's Act 1 is at the top. Under that is Chapter 1, and it actually added Chapter 2 and 3 also. And then some scene cards. Imagine I can add additional scene cards. I can add additional chapters if I want. Easy to do. I want to show you how you can move a chapter into Act 2, because actually, for some reason, this was not an easy thing for me to learn. So you want to hold down chapter 4 and you want to drag it up here till you see how Act 2 just kind of flashed to let you know you're in it. And then you drop it. That's how you move it. And same with scene cards. I can move it by holding it up to chapter 4 and drop it, and it would go there. So that's a little good tip. All right. So you see, that's what we have here. It makes more sense to me now. And also, you see that you're not going to be scrolling for days because it's not horizontal. Here's the thing about the third level. I want you to pay attention to the third level. It says scenes, and you can put your scene cards here, and that's cool. That's fine. But why do you really need it to say scene 1, scene 2, scene 3? Because you literally could put your own scene cards there, and I guess it counts for you. So in that sense, it's nice. But in general, you could do a couple things with this third level. Let me show you what you could do. If we go back to the brains of the project, remember what that is? Structure. If we simply click on the word scene and hit the back button, we could call it beats, for example. See? Now anything I add will be another beat. And then this could be a beat and this could be a beat. But the word beat doesn't mean anything either. You see what I mean? So what I would use this third level for is to actually name the beats. And you would do this in a situation where you have a template already in mind and you prefer to use it. So let's say that I decide that. And so I'm going to I want to change beat 1. I want to change its name to setup. And beat 2, I want to make catalyst. Well, I can't go to structure because if I go to structure and try to change beats, it will make them all say setup. So I have to do it individually here now. So I'm hovering over beat 1 and I'm going up and I'm going to see edit right above it. See? And there's also a trash can if I want to get rid of it. By the way, with the 3-act structure here, I would not recommend hitting get rid of it this way. I would get rid of it in this structure command. The reason that you don't want to get rid of it on the actual page is because anything that's in Act 1, Chapter 1, and Beat 1, and a scene card here, it will disappear if you get rid of this. It will say, oh, there's no beat, so we can get rid of it. So anyway, you're hovering over Beat 1, and you go up to the edit, and you call it simply Setup. Beat 2, I call it Catalyst. And I can keep going, right? Plot point 1, and so on. Now it's making a lot of sense because any scene cards I put here will fall under the setup beat. You following me? Any scene cards I put here will fall under the catalyst beat. Of course, there usually is only one scene that makes up a catalyst beat, but there's more than one scene card that makes up a setup beat in general. Obviously, there's exceptions. Okay, so that is how that works. Now, that's great if you have your own template to use. But if you don't, maybe you consider going up to structure and getting rid of this third level because you won't really need it. I mean, you can leave it there, no harm, no foul, right? But if you want to get rid of it, you could go up and hit the negative sign and go down to 2. Why? Because you might want to use one of Plottr's templates. Plottr isn't going to put their template up there on that third level for you. So where is Plottr going to put it? Well, you see this main plot line here. If you go down, you see a plus and a use template. So Let me show you that again. Right now it says plus, but if you go over it, it divides into plus and use template. If we choose use template, we're going to get a whole lot of Plottr's templates. These are all choices for us to set up to give us an idea what are the main beats that are involved in the kind of story specifically that we're writing to help us figure out what should happen and when. For example, if you're doing, let's see, what would be a good one? Let's say that you're doing a romance novel. Maybe you do the romance beat sheet. Maybe the snowflake method is something you've used before and you really like it, or story circle, or 3-act structure. There's all kinds of great ones here. Sleuth's journey, if you're writing a mystery. So you have a choice. Horror beat, okay? In our case, we're writing the Wicked Wicked West. So I think you guys know it's pretty much going to be a cowboy novel. Yeah, Elaine, no. This functionality is in Plottr and Plottr Pro. The functionalities are pretty similar. The only difference really is that Pro allows you to collaborate with people and you can work on it at the same time. It's pretty cool. You can share back and forth. And also it uses the cloud, our cloud, not your cloud, for storage. But the features are pretty much the same. So here we're going to look at this and we're going to choose one for the Wicked Wicked West. Okay, I'm thinking it's an action adventure plot, but I'm not sure. Let me click on it. Okay, and it gives me this information and I can scroll through. I can make this bigger as well, but I'm trying to get it on my page so you can see it. So if I'm looking at this, I can see there's a encounter the damsel, number 5, and number 6 is encounters henchman, and battle the villain is 15. Okay, well, you know, I think our cowboy novel has a damsel in distress and a henchman and a villain with one of those old-fashioned wax mustaches. Yeah, it sounds pretty good to me. Let's say I didn't know what this meant. Well, some of these are harder to understand than others. You might not be familiar with what it means. So what you can do is click on this eye up here, and it will take you out of Plottr to a page that will inform you about the template, the genre. And that's how that works. But really, there's no downside to selecting one. If you don't like it, you can deselect it. You can get rid of it. So I'm going to choose it. I just hit choose. Now it's asking me, it doesn't do this if you have the default at the top, but I'm going to do a beat because it's a beat. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Okay, it's going under beats. So here we have the whole template right in front of you. We have hero's circumstance. That's beat 1. You know what? It's very similar to setup beat because the beats are generally more or less the same with some interesting differences for genre. So hero's circumstance is in fact that. So let's go into it. Now you might notice I'm just hovering over it and it's popping up. Every single scene card, no matter what it is, whatever you put inside it, if you hover over it, you can see what's in it. That's to save you time because you don't have to open up everything. You can just take a quick glance at stuff. So let's go ahead and open it up. Okay. And it's telling us all about what this beat entails. And you'll see a lot of setup type things. You know, is the character happy or unhappy? What's going on in their life? What's their basic personality? What are their flaws? Things that are generally showing up in the setup beat so your reader can get to know your character. Down here, you see breakdown. And you might notice the second one says, hero's circumstance should comprise 8 to 10% of the story. Now, you haven't written this story yet. You're plotting it out. So how do you know what 8 to 10% is? Well, you don't, because it's not really relevant to you until you actually write the story. Once you write the story and you come back and you're checking out your beats and everything, you can say, well, let's look at beat 1, 8 to 10% of my story. I wrote a 200-page novel. So the setup should be up to 20 pages and probably not more. Again, it's not meant to be formulaic. You can go a little over, a little under, but it's a guideline, right? So around 20 pages is the setup. So that tells you, if you look at your first draft and you're like, whoa, I did a setup for 60 pages. I didn't even get to the callus till page 61. Well, in a 200-page novel, you're not on pace. You're way too slow. So you're going to have to do some cutting down to get it to feel more like this kind of a beat. At the very top, it says add your details above this line. Every once in a while, somebody goes and puts their scene cards in here, but do not recommend that. It'll just be in-housed inside a template. If you ever deleted the template, your scene cards would go away. Plus, you can't see them. You don't have access to them unless you open it up. Really do it the correct way and keep it on that top main plot line. So what does that mean? Add your details. Well, what it means is that, let's say you're a plot geek like me, and you read this book, and it says, it's called How to Write the World's Best-Selling Cowboy Novel. Well, of course you're going to read that, right? All right. And you read it, and you get some great ideas for this setup that don't happen to be in this more generic template. Like maybe you read that your cowboy novel will be a huge hit if you name your heroine LB. Okay. So you might just simply go in and it's perfectly editable. It's not edible. You can't eat it. Sorry. Plottr does a lot of things, but it doesn't let you eat the scene cards. We're working on that. So you could add that right there, LB. Okay. All right. So now what does that mean? Well, what that means is that in the event that you have all of these exactly the way you want it, all of them have been changed exactly the way you want it, there is a way to save this as a custom template, and then you can use it forevermore. Every time you open up Dashboard and you do create from template, or you go and you use template right from here, it's the same thing, right? It will look like this. It will pull up my templates up here. These are ones that started as starter templates. I changed them up and I saved them. I customized them because I use these all the time. They're my favorite templates. They have lots of detail in them. Okay, I'm going to show you how you're going to save this customizable template in just a minute. So we're going to park that right now, okay? All right, we're going to go up here to project next to timeline. Project is another way you can enter into your project, but it's only the one you're working on most recently. So here we have the Wicked Wicked West, and super cute. It moves around. You can even add a photo so that you can make it look like a real book. And I suggest you do those things because those things are fun. They get me inspired. You can change the name here, and you can do something called duplicate. I'm going to show you what that means. What this is, you'll see at the top it says series. What project is mainly used for is to create a placeholder for your future series books. I know a lot of you guys are like, oh my gosh, I haven't even written my first book. I'm not even thinking about a series. Okay, that's cool, but still pay attention to what I'm saying, because one day you might think about a series, and this is really cool. It's also where you're going to customize your template. About to get there. Here's the thing. If you click on the blue plus, it will create a new book. We'll call it Series 2. But the thing is because we messed around with that 3-act structure and it's not default anymore, this will create a brand new book, but it doesn't carry over that thing at the top we did. So if I open it up, it's not there. So you might have to go in and add it in again. But you guys, there's another bigger problem with this, which is when you use this plus and it creates something new, the whole point in having series placeholders is that you can share all kinds of things between your books. So let's say you have a character named Elaine, because Elaine is like the first person to let me know she could hear me. So Elaine is now the heroine of my book. So Elaine, right? She's a great character. I do her character card up, and we'll get to character cards in a minute. She's beautiful, fabulous, wonderful. And I say, well, Elaine's not going to be in series book 2, but I think Elaine is going to come back in series book 3. Very simply, I can do a little magic, and that character card will remain in Wicked Wicked West where it belongs, but the duplicate will show up in series book 3. And then one day when you get to series book 3 and you open it up, it's already populated with research cards that are appropriate, characters that are going to be in it, place cards. Makes it so much easier to write if you're not facing an empty project one day. So how do we do that? Well, if we don't want to go into series book 2 and add that 3-act structure again. I know it only takes 30 seconds really when you're fast at it, but we don't want to waste time. So all we do is do duplicate, because duplicate duplicates the coding as well as the book. So let's look at it. We're going to hit that. Okay, here it is. We're going to call it 3 acts, just to remind us. If I open it up, I didn't lie to you guys. See, there it is. All right, now just to reiterate, if I want to share anything, it's going to allow me to share it to this, but it's not going to allow me to share to this. A little button will say, you need the same structure, and you'll have to go in and add it. So that's why I just simply use the duplicate button. I don't use that plus. Okay, let me show you something else. Below main plot, by the way, when you hover over main plot, it gives you a whole lot of choices to make it look like you want it to look. So you can change the name. You could call it My Scene Cards if you want. You could do colors. Look at all these cool colors they've got. Now, I love hot pink. You see how that works? Pretty cool. And of course, the more I add, the longer my line gets. So it looks super hot pink, which I love. I could also, like I said, change the name. I can delete it, but why would you delete it? Because that's where your scene cards are. And there's something that we can do to move it. So let me show you what that is, okay? Let's say that I'm thinking this through here. Let's say that I want to move this, pretend for a second that these are full of scene cards, okay? I want to move this whole entire, all my scene cards for this book, and I want to put it in book 3 because I just want it to reference it because I have to because it's so related to the plot. What I could do, and there's many examples of this that we'll get to, is I could simply hover over it and go down and duplicate it. And suddenly I have 2 main plots. Just imagine those scene cards are there, okay? Now I can move that second one because I don't need a duplicate by going all the way over here to move plot line. And as you see, I can move it to series book 2. I can't move it to the other ones. You know why? You guessed it. It's because series book 2 has the same exact structure. And if I click on this one, look what it says. You can only move plot lines to books with the same number of structure levels. So I'd have to go back and add them in. So I wanted to show that to you. But if I click on series book 2, you know what's going to happen? It's going to vanish. Not this one. This stays here. The duplicate is going to vanish. And you know where it's going to show up? Let me get rid of it. If I go back into project and I click on this one, it's going to be there waiting for me. Pretty cool, right? So there's so many things, pretty much everything you can share between the books. It's really, really useful. Okay, let's go back into the Wicked Wicked West 1 second. Phyllis and anybody else, if you guys could just keep your questions. I think what I'm going to do is I'll take questions like the last 10 minutes or so, just because we're going to go through so much information. You might find your questions are answered as we go along. So just like hold off, and I don't want to keep stopping to kind of look over and make sure I'm not missing anything. So that would be really helpful if you could just hold it till the end, and then I will certainly be sure to answer them as best I can. Okay, so let's see. In addition to templates, and by the way, you can do more than one template. If you're not sure which one, you could try another one. You could compare, and then you decide, I don't like that one. You can delete it. Easy, right? So the other thing you can do is this page we said is the timeline, right? But over here, these little lines here, these are plot lines. So we're going to add a plot line. So we're not going to do template now. We're going to go over and click plus. Now we have a new plot line and wants us to name it. Well, what would we use plot lines for? You know, you can pretty much use them for whatever you want. So in this situation, I'm going to do a multiple point of view book. I'm going to make Elaine my main character. Okay, but a multiple point of view book tends to have more than one point of view. So let's see, Phyllis is in my book. I'm going to add a line for Phyllis. There we go. Now I'm going to create scene cards for these guys. But guess what? I'm not going to do scenes because why? My scenes are all up here. I don't really need to duplicate it. So what I'm going to use this for is character arc. Maybe in the catalyst, Elaine, something happens to Elaine that changes her personality just a little bit. And maybe in beat 4, the same thing happens, only different. And Phyllis has a change in beat 3. In this way, I can monitor really quickly. It takes 2 seconds to do, right? Phyllis learns empathy. And inside the card, I might write that her best horse died. All right, whatever. In this way, I can track her character arc so that at the end of the book, I can see, or the end of this thing, I can actually look at her character arc and make sure that it's pretty even and dispersed pretty evenly. We don't want all the changes for Phyllis to happen in the first 3 beats and then nothing the rest of the story. This will help you see that it's pretty even. There's also a really easy way to read through it, which I'm about to show you, so that you can say, oh, that's a hole. I just made Phyllis go from greedy to generous in one scene, and I didn't even show why. That's going to confuse my reader. You see all this, these are giving you little tiny little seeds, I hope, planted in your brain for how Plottr is going to save you a ton of time. It seems like when you first look at it superficially, it'll take a while because you have to learn all these things. They're not really hard to learn, trust me, but you have to learn things. But for your revision, like when you get to your revision stage, your first draft is going to come out like a third draft. It isn't going to come out like a first draft because you've done it organized, and that's going to save you time. All right, what's another thing for plotline? Well, one thing I love to do is calendaring. It's real simple. I go up and I say, this scene card takes place, and I go down here and click on it, and I write Thursday, June 12th, 2 p.m. That's it. That's all I do. Why do I do that? Because I found out the hard way that we writers use time tags all the time in our writing. We just randomly throw them in. We're like, oh, I needed that to happen 2 weeks from now. So 2 weeks later, we write on chapter 4. And then chapter 5 says, last Wednesday. And then in the middle of chapter 4, it says, on Tuesday. You're getting the point, right? It gets really confusing, and I'm not keeping track of my dates. Well, this is going to simplify this. You're going to have your dates, and right away, you're going to see potential problems. And this is how I found this out. When I sold League of Strays, which was my first young adult novel, when I sold that book, my editor said, please go in and calendar it. And I thought she was out of her mind. I really did. I was like, why would I go back and do that? It's going to take forever. And it did take forever. And you know what I found out? It took forever. I had to do it, but I didn't do it to begin with. So I had to do it. What I found out was that I was sending my teenagers to school on a Sunday. I even sent them, I had them had a huge party. It turned out the way that I had set it up, that it was randomly, it was Christmas Day. And of course, there was no family in sight because I didn't know it was Christmas Day when I was writing it. And let me tell you, to fix that, that was so awful because I had to go through and find every single timestamp and get rid of stuff, and it didn't make sense. And just, ugh. So I highly recommend calendaring. If you're writing a mystery novel, maybe you want to do clues. Okay, clues. This way you can track your clues and have them right in front of your face. You have a clue in the catalyst, you have a clue in beat 5, you have a clue in beat 6. You can see right away if you have a clue in 4, 5, 6, and 7 and nothing for another 10 chapters, that might be a problem. It might be a sign to you that you need to spread it out a little bit. And all I do is click plus and write gun on table. You don't have to do anything more than that. You can do whatever you want with these plot lines, guys. If you want to put a to-do list so that you can keep focused, do it. There, you can look up online all kinds of ideas for plot lines. All right, let's move on. Wow. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to leave our book. Now, I promise you that we're going to finish it one day. You and me, we're going to finish it. All right, so let me remove it. And what I'm going to do here is I am going to share one of our beloved, famous demos. And I think, I don't know if I have it up yet. Let me pull it up real quick. It's called The Three Little Pigs. Now, if you haven't read it, I highly suggest you do because it's just a compelling read. Okay, here we go. Okay, you should be able to see it in just a second. All right, there we go. Unfortunately, you can't see a lot of it. Let me try to make it a little bigger and see if it shows up on the screen. Yes, some of that does. Okay, good. So we have several different plot lines here. We have the main plot where the scene cards go. We have the wolf's point of view. We have the pig number one's point of view. And it's a 3-act structure. Okay, so let's go into one of the scene cards and see what it looks like. 3 little pigs enjoy a great meal. This is obviously a pantster. I can tell because he only wrote one line. Now, when I write out my scene cards, mine are a page long. I like to really plan them out and make sure I understand everybody's motivation. But that's because I'm a plotter. So pantster plotter doesn't matter. You can be a discovery writer and only have one line if you want to have maximum flexibility. That's cool. Still keeps you on track with the beats. Over here on the left side, you see how it says book 3 little pigs. That's just telling us we're in the 3 little pigs. Okay. We can drop down and we can go to other books as well. For the books, I believe if I go click on The Wolf Strikes Back, this 3 little pig card will disappear from 3 little pigs and will show up in The Wolf Strikes Back. Plot line. Okay, let's say I accidentally write out a character arc card for the 3 little pigs, but I know I'm in the scene card. Yeah, I can just go there and move it down, but I also can do it from here. If I click wolf, it will disappear from this and it will, this plot line, and it will automatically move it down to the wolf's point of view line. So that's how that works. There's also easy ways just to drag, but I'm showing you what these fancy little features are. Characters, well, we have to populate characters, which we'll do in a minute. But if you populate them, they'll all show up here on the list. And this is telling me pig 1, pig 2, and pig 3 are in this particular scene. It takes place in the brick house. Again, we're going to populate a place card for that to show up. And then we can see them all. Tags, I'm going to show you that a little bit later. All right, let's move on to attributes over here. Attributes. So this is the description. You see how it's gray? And you can play with the description and make it look however you want. All kinds of cool things you can do here, even adding pictures, links, whatever you want. But attributes, what are attributes? I just clicked on it. It's right here. Attributes are things that you want to ask yourself for every single scene card. They're things that are important to you. In this case, the author wanted to know the weather, the point of view, and the time of day. I don't know why, guys. It's just random. For me, I might do reader emotion. I like to ask myself that for every single scene card because I've discovered over time that if I know what I want the reader to feel, the scene comes out much better right from the start. So that's something that I've just learned over time. Just remember, attributes are for every single scene card. So that means it doesn't matter which scene card I choose. I can randomly choose the wolf falls down the chimney, open it up, click on attributes, and it'll say, okay, and I can type that in for every single scene card. Add template, on the other hand, is only for individual scene cards. And that's logical because templates are very specific to the scene and character templates are very specific to the character. You want to know certain things to get to know them better. So let's look at add template. Again, we have starter templates here. There's less because it's only a scene card. You don't need as many. But maybe you go and you choose goal, motivation, and conflict. Okay? What it does, I'll go back to the default description. It just tucks that template up here. You see? It's just up here in the line. It doesn't bother you. It's just hanging out there. And when you want it, you click on it. You can type in the goal, the motivation, and the conflict. That's really important for a scene. Let's remove it though. We're going to click remove here. Okay. You see how it left the line? It's not up there anymore. So that's how it works. Now, it just so happens goal, motivation, and conflict happens to be the one template that I love. I actually would like to see it in every single scene card because I think it's important to know goal, motivation, and conflict. So I don't want to add a template for every single scene card. So I do something really cool and tricky. I just go to attributes and I go over here to the right side where it says configure. I hit configure and I simply do goal and I can add motivation and conflict. And because it's an attribute, it will now show up for every single scene card. It's a little way to get around that sort of thing. If I decide I don't like goal there, I can just X out of it and it goes away. And that, my friends, is a scene card. Delete is way down here. And the reason it's way down here is because we don't want you to delete your scene card unless you intentionally want to delete your scene card. All right. So let's go to the next thing. We talked about project, where your series placeholders are and or where you're saving. Oh, I didn't show you save template. Okay. All right. Remember how I said you had a template and that you made it exactly the way you wanted it to look? Well, then what you would do is, here's action adventure plot. You can duplicate it. Remember, that's always the first step to moving. Duplicate it. Then we can move it. By the way, let me go into project real quick. I'm going to add a new, I'm going to add a new one, and I'm going to call it template because this is only temporary. I want to put my template in this template folder because the template folder is pretty much empty. In fact, I could go in and I could delete everything here. So it's totally empty. Okay, it's totally empty now. You with me? Okay, let me show you what that means. Now that it's totally empty, let's go back. So we have a template file. It's totally empty. Now let's go back into Three Little Pigs. Pretend for a second that the action adventure plot, oops, it went back to default. The action adventure plot is completely customized by you. It's exactly the way you like it. You love it and you want to keep it forevermore. You duplicate it. Now you have two. You simply go down and go over to move. Click on move. If it had the same structure, it wouldn't be grayed out. It would be black. But I use the blue plus instead of the duplicate. So let's say it was there. So I could click on template, and what would happen is this would disappear from here. The second one, not the first one. And when I go into project and I open up template, it would be there. Now you have to use your imagination. Here it is, all by itself, nothing else on the page. Now I can save it. So I can go over to these three little dots here all the way to the right. I can click on them and I can save its template. I can name it and click save. And you know what'll happen? Forevermore, of course, it'll be here, my templates. But it also, remember that dashboard we talked about in the beginning? How it said open as a template? If you click on that, that's another way. You could just go and you can click on your template right there. It'll be there forever. It will never go away. So that is something very cool. Okay, outline is next. So outline, here we are in outline. Let's go to full text here. Let me do a few things. Yeah. My page is frozen and I don't know why it's frozen. Okay, well, for some reason it is frozen. So I want to show you this, but I can't show it to you. So you have to just go into your own and you'll see what I mean. What it will do is it will give you every single scene card, one after the other, after the other, after the other. I hope I'm not frozen. Let me make sure I'm not frozen. Okay, just that pages. One after the other, and you can read it like an English paper from top to bottom. And in that way, it's really easy to find holes in your plot. You can do it for characters too. You can simply select characters and look at your character arc cards and make sure they're all there. I don't like that it's frozen. Why is it frozen? Okay. Oh, well, nothing I can do. Let's go over to notes. So notes are where your research cards go. This is cool. So you can do a new note one of two ways. You can click on the plus or you can go to new right here. Same thing. A new card. Here it is. Maybe look, we have 1904 here. So maybe they're time traveling pigs. And we want our time traveling pigs to go to the Empire State Building. So we put that in there. And we want to research it. Okay, it's not a place card. This is research. So I'm going here and I'm doing all my research, yada, 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 everything that was about how the Empire State Building looked, acted, felt, whatever in 1904. Okay. Now you see how it says source? Well, that's not on your plotter. That's because I happen to know that that is an attribute. So it's going to show up on every single note card that the author created. So let's go above notes to attributes and let's look at it. See, there it is, source, and you can add one too. Why did he add source? Well, he's a bit old-fashioned, okay? He only goes to the library for his research, imagine, right? And so he wants to put here, okay, all these facts came from the Encyclopedia of Time-Traveling Pigs. And this is great for nonfiction writers, really great for them too, because they can track where they get all their research. But it's great for fiction writers too, because if you want to go back and find that fact again or revisit something, you know where you found it. Now, I don't use books for my research hardly ever anymore. So I use a lot of URLs. So let's say this came from one URL, one article, and this fact came from a different article. Well, all I have to do is simply highlight whatever amount I want, go over here, right above it. See the link thing? I can paste in the link to the article and click OK. And what will happen is this will become a live link. This is such an understated and powerful feature. I use it all the time because what happens is when I'm going to write my book, I might read over something I wrote down on my research card and it doesn't make sense to me. Or I think, oh, that article had something about this and I wasn't going to use that fact, but now I want to and I want to go look at it again. All I have to do is click on it and it automatically takes me to the article. And each one could be different. So that's really cool. And you can choose an image too. If you want to put your Empire State Building there, you can. All right, what's on the left side? Well, research I need to do later, you see that? And pre-writing research and 1904, those are categories. And what's within the categories are the scene cards you're creating. Wolf behavior under stress is under research I need to do later. Pigs under stress is under pre-writing research. It's an organizational system to keep your research super organized. Okay, that is really great and everything. So that's how that works. If you wanted to delete anything, you simply hover over it and delete. It's not a problem, but be careful, don't delete things. So to create categories, go above this plus. Up here it says categories, just like it does attributes, categories, and add a category. See, here are the categories he added. Research I need to do later, pre-writing research, etc. Okay, so let's close that down. Now over here in categories, once I've created them, I could say Empire State Building. Well, it's going to be in the time traveling pig part. So I'm going to pick a category 1904. So I click 1904 and look at 1904 over here and look, Eiffel Tower, Taj Mahal, and there's my research card. Right? Cool. Okay. Now what's this part right here? Well, books allows you to share. Remember we talked about setting up those series placeholders. So I can click on the plus and I can say, okay, well, the Empire State Building, it's in the Three Little Pigs. It's not going to be in any other book. So I'll just leave it there. So it'll show up under Three Little Pigs and nowhere else. But let's say I open it up and I say, I want it in The Wolf Strikes Back, but not Return of Mother Pig. Now I can guarantee you when you go back to project and open up The Wolf Strikes Back, this note card will be waiting for you in the note area. Characters, I don't really do this because I don't really understand why you would attribute characters to research cards. Feels a little overkill in places too. So I don't really do these ones as much. Sometimes I do, but not with this particular card quite so much. By the way, if you have not already signed up for the newsletter, please do so because this reminds me of that because I cannot tell you, these people who work at Plottr, they're wild. Like they are always coming up with cool new features and people will suggest features and they work and work and work until they have it and then they put it in. So like these two things over here are brand new. I never seen them before. I'm going to have to go and explore those. It looks like I can pin it. That's cool. Maybe it pins to the top. I don't want to mess with it right now with you guys here. Add to bookmarks. I mean, they're always adding features and you're going to find out about that in newsletters or in a video by Cameron, our leader, that might be in the newsletter. So that's why that's really cool. So let's close this down. Let's move on. Get rid of that and go over to characters. Okay, characters now it should be looking super intuitive, right, guys? Plus next to character, new over character makes a new character card. We have attributes. Okay, attributes right there. Here they are. If you click on attributes, every single area has this. You can see them and they're right there. Or notes. That's where you put your notes about the character. Categories, supporting, red herring, victim. Victim. I think we're going to have bacon. Pigs are victims, then we get bacon, and I like bacon. I will not object. All right, and you can also do image. This is super cool. So remember our book back, a Wild Wild West book, or Wicked Wicked West, or whatever it was called? Remember Elaine? Hi, Elaine. All right, well, Elaine happens to be a drop-dead gorgeous 30-year-old cowgirl who's won multiple awards. So I might go to Google Images and put in red hair, green eyes, because let's do a little cliche, right? Because aren't all cowgirls have red hair? Okay, red hair, green eyes, long legs, big biceps. Anyway, Google will show me a picture of my perfect Elaine. I can simply go choose an image and put it right there. Now, when I'm writing and I want to go and describe Elaine, all I got to do is come here and open that up and I can see Elaine for myself. Really nice. You don't have to keep track of how Elaine looks because you got a picture of her. Characters does something very unique at the top. See how it says Three Little Pigs, Return of Mother Pig, Wolf Strikes Back? Well, it allows you to go in between these books super speedy fast. And that's because we've discovered that when people are writing characters, they'll get an idea for another book. Oh my gosh, I should have a doorman in that other book. So all you got to do is click on the Wolf Strikes Back, and suddenly you're in the Wolf Strike Back area, and you can add your character card and go right back to Three Little Pigs. See, really fun stuff, right? I hope you're getting excited because I get excited every time I teach this class, to be honest. And the search button is in every single area too. That's really cool. Let me go back to timeline and show you. Come on. Don't freeze again. Why is it doing that to me? I don't know. Something's wrong with my internet. All right, here we are. It unfroze. Okay, so search. I'm going to search for soup because you guys, I wrote this scene card and they were making soup and that's all I remember. And I thought about it and I thought it would be really cool in my book if I did like a sidebar and I actually put the recipe for the soup they're making. Wouldn't that be fun? So I'm going to search for it because I don't know which card it is. There's thousands of cards here. I don't know. So if I type soup in or even start to, up pops the soups. Lands in boiling pot of soup. It's carrot soup. Now I can go in and I can add my little recipe. So that search is everywhere. It's very useful. Places are the same exact thing. It's going to look very familiar now. You see, you have murder scene, victim's house is your categories. Attributes, if we click on it, every single one, when I open it up, it'll have these things that that author wants to see for whatever reason. He added a picture. In his description, well, he didn't write very much, has chimney. Okay, you can do as much or as little as you want. It's your place area. Okay, so next up is tags, and that's cool. So the first 2 years that I had Plottr, I didn't know what tags were, and I didn't really have the time to learn, and so I kind of ignored it. Oh my gosh, is it useful? I'm going to show you why. So what are tags? Tags are something that you are going to attribute to every single scene card. I'm not talking about point of view character cards, or I'm talking about scene cards. The reason is because it's going to allow us in the end to filter certain things, and we're going to be able to see what we have really well. And I'm going to make this more tangible for you. The first thing you're going to do in tags is create some categories right here. And he created theme, pacing, and emotions. You can do whatever you want. This is what he wanted. So his themes, he decided he wanted to track themes because he said to himself, I have 4 themes and I want to explore them in my book, but we'll see if I actually do. So he added the theme of hard work, laziness, danger, and safety, right? And pacing, he did slow, medium, and fast. He hasn't written the book yet, but he still has an idea if the scene card, if they're sitting there making carrot soup, it's probably slow, right? Why does he care about this? Well, I'll tell you why. His first 3 books he submitted to an agent, and that agent wrote back and said, this is a great book. It's fabulous. It's wonderful, but it's too quiet. We writers don't like that word quiet. It tends to mean, not always, but tends to mean that there's not enough action. It's too introspective. And that's the problem with this writer. And this is supposed to be an exciting pig story, time-traveling pigs. So he doesn't want to get caught with his pants down writing slow scenes again. So he wants to track them and hope, whatever. That was something he was interested in. So let's go over to timeline again. Now we've set it up. Let's go into our first scene card. Here under tags, he clicked plus, and there they all are because he created them. It's automatic. And he has the theme of safety. He also has a theme of laziness. And he says this is a slow scene card. The key to this is you have to do every single scene card. It takes less than a second to do. But you have to do every single scene card because, see filter up here? See where my cursor is? I know I'm moving my cursor a lot. Filter. Filter automatically populates with every character card, every place card, every tag you've created, every attribute. He can say, I want to see how many fast-paced scene cards I have. Everything else grays out. But I see we have a problem, don't you? He has 2 fast-paced scene cards and all the rest are slow or medium. That's supposed to be a high drama story, but it's not playing out that way. If you click on timeline is filtered in the yellow, it goes back to normal. He could also go and he could do, I want to see fast and medium, or I want to see fast cards with the theme of danger. Okay. See, it changes no matter what you ask it to do. And you can unclick it just as well. So as you can see, just using your imagination here, it gives you a wealth of information about what you're doing in your story. And once you play with it, you'll start to understand what I mean, because you'll be able to see exactly what's going on, even to make it so that you don't make the same mistakes you made before. So that is how that works. And also you might want to see, are your slow cards and your medium cards and your fast cards evenly presented? Because if you have 5 slow cards in a row, you're going to put your reader to sleep. Okay. All right. We're almost done. We only have 2 more things, and then we're going to ask or answer rather some questions. So if I haven't answered your question, go ahead and put it up. If I can't answer it, I will tell you where you can get an answer. So over here, see where it says 3 little pigs? If you hit the down button, you can go between your books real fast because you might get an idea, right? But I want you to pay attention to 3 little pigs series view. This is a kind of like a series Bible. The author set it up. He wanted to do it this way. He set this up with his beats. He didn't finish, but he set it up with his beats. Now on this line, it's not going to be scene cards like it would in a regular timeline, but what it's going to be is the beats for his overarching series. So not just one book, but all of them. What's the catalyst of the overarching series? You see how cool that's going to be? He can track the beats not just for each book, but for the whole thing as a whole. This line tells me he's just saying the 3 little pigs are going to show up in the overarching setup and catalyst beat. And when he gets the debate beat, Return of Mother Pig is going to come in. He has Hero's Journey. He added a template. You could go and duplicate the plot line, all your scene cards for every single book, and then you could move it over here, and you could see all in one simple Bible, every single book and every single with all your cards. So that's something cool. Always go back to the 3 little pigs normal, just because I know it keeps going back to default because I'm messing with it so much, but it's stacked. So that's really, really important because you want to go back to this page, because when you open it up next time, if you forget you were in this series Bible and you don't see your scene cards, you might freak out. I don't want you to freak out because it's there. You just have to go to the right page. Last thing I'm going to show you before we take questions is all the way over to the right. Sorry to give you whiplash. Remember the structure button? Next to it is this little arrow guy. When we click on it, it says MS Word and Scrivener and Advanced. This is where you're going to move certain cards, maybe if you choose to your writing software, because you're going to write that day. Maybe you want to move the wolf card to the top of your writing software so you can use it while you're writing the wolf scene, the first wolf scene. I don't know. I don't use this feature that much, but if you go to Advanced, you have to check off what you want, because otherwise all this stuff is going to go over to your writing software and it'll clutter it up. So just choose exactly what you want, the wolf one. And you see right now, blue is highlighted Scrivener. That's because I work in Scrivener. But if you work in MS Word, you simply click on MS Word and do the same thing. And then you're going to click on this orange arrow guy, and it's going to say, okay, what's the name of your project? You're going to say, my writing book. It's called The Wicked West. And then it'll say, okay, and it'll zoom all that over there and it'll be there. Now, I know some people in the past have said, I think that's how I'm going to back up my cards. I'm going to put it in my software. Please don't do that. It'll be such a mess. And I'm here to tell you that Plottr is backing up your stuff all the time. So you don't have to do it. You don't have to worry about it. Every single time you log on for the day, Plottr does a backup. And every single time you sign off for the day, Plottr does a backup. So I don't know what could happen in the middle of your book, but let's say you deleted a scene and you deleted it at 2 p.m. and at 4:55, you're like, oh, that scene, now I know why I had it there. I thought it was useless, but I know and I want it back. Well, if you had just deleted it, you can simply go up and click undo on the nav bar, right? And it'll pop back up. But if it was a while ago, it won't. So you might have to go back and say, when I logged on, I want to put that backup up. It's not a perfect solution because you will lose some things that you did during the day that way, but this is a very rare situation. But the point is at the very worst situation, you'll lose something for a few hours and you can get it back. You don't have to go back days or weeks. So that, my friends, is how that works. Okay, now we're ready for questions at last. So let's see if we still have these. I added the pro question. For me, acts and beats come first. Okay. Chapters later. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Can Plottr chapterize after the fact? Yeah, you can simply go up to the structure button and add an extra level and add chapters in. Easy peasy. Just remember, structure, that's the brains. So whatever you tell it to do, it will do for the whole timeline. When you started the Wicked Wicked West, sorry the title was so long, the timeline had options. The timeline had options. When you started the Wicked Wicked West, it had options. And I don't even know what you mean by options. Can you add it to that, Elaine? What did you mean when you said it had options? Do you mean like the option between default and tabbed and stacked for doing the 3-act structure? If you can add, oh, you figured it out? Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm glad you figured it out. You don't have to explain it to me. All right. If you have any other questions, put it up. But what I'm going to do is tell you guys right now what to do when you have a question after we disconnect, which is bound to happen, right? It always is that way. So there's so many places to get your answers. One of my favorites is the Facebook Plottr page because it's people all around the world working. And so if you're working at 2:45 in the morning, you can pretty much guarantee that I'm awake over in Barcelona and I'm working because it's, a different time zone. And so you ask your question and I can answer it. There's so many smart people on Facebook at any time that you can usually get a good answer that way. Another thing you might do is go to plottr.com and look at some of the links that we provide there and see if you can get your answer there. Or a great resource is YouTube. Put in Plottr and customize templates. And there's a video about how to do it. So that's a great way as well. If none of those work and you still don't know your answer, hey, you know what? We got real live people in our customer service. That's right. No AI. Hopefully never any AI because I hate AI for question. Oh my gosh. Don't you guys hate that when you go on a chat and it's AI and you're like, okay, well, I'm not going to go off on that. But like great people there. So I'm going to give you an example. One time I was working on, and we're almost done. One time I was working on my Plottr. I tried to open it up and it wouldn't open. It would get like half the bar across and then it would freeze. Well, of course I started to panic. I'm like, oh no, my corrupt, I have a virus. It's corrupt. And so I went to customer service, in this case, Holly. She's amazing. I said, Holly, what's happening? And she goes, well, tell me what you did. And I told her everything I did. And she's like, okay, I don't know the answer, but I'm going to find out. And then like 4 hours later, she comes back to me and she's like, okay, I want you to go into settings. I want you to go here. I want you to go here, here, here. Okay, now click yes. And when I did, my Plottr was fixed. You know what the problem was? I had downloaded one of those iOSs, the new iOSs, and they had a bug in there that turned off one of the settings deep in the bowels of the settings that I would have never found. And Holly figured it out and saved the day. So you guys, one time she was even on here with me and somebody had a problem and she sent them a Zoom link And afterwards they got on and she looked at their plotter and fixed that girl's problem too. That's pretty amazing. So they know everything about everything. What about the newsletter? How to sign up? I assume you just go to plottr.com. Gosh, it's been so long, I don't remember. But I'm pretty sure you would just go to plottr.com and you'll see a newsletter link. That makes sense that that's where it would be. Yeah, so we don't send them out super regularly at the moment because they're working on a really big release. But in general, we try to send them out every week. And like I said, they're chock full of information and all the new features are in there and everything you don't want to miss out. Okay. Is there any way to share a template you've customized with another writer? Yeah, so Phyllis, that's where you need to go and get Plottr Pro. Plottr won't do it. Plottr Pro will do it. Plottr Pro allows you, that's the whole point, to share your documents with other writers. You can collaborate and so forth. Yeah, you can't share the file. You certainly can't work on it together, and I don't think that you can really share the file with them very easily at all. Maybe there's a workaround, but it would be complicated with Plottr. So go get Plottr Pro if you like to do that. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining me and spending this time with me. I'm going to let you go. What I suggest as a last minute suggestion is you're going to get the link and don't take too long and start playing with it and get things going. Because if you wait more than a week, I think you're going to forget it all. And then it's going to be frustrating. Although you're always welcome back to my class. All right. Take care and best of luck to you. And we'll finish that Wicked Wicked West another time, okay? Okay. Thanks for being my characters, Phyllis and Elaine. All right. See you guys later. Bye-bye.